Shall I go and play with a spreadsheet for a little bit?
Go for it, Nick.
You got all those things that we said we might. Just interrupt me though.
Yeah.
With the things that I've forgotten to say. Is this microphone on as well? Can you still hear me? Yeah, great. Look at that. Oh, okay.
Can I just say one other quick thing that I would so love to be proved wrong, because I feel that there's still so many things I need to learn about business. But VAT does come into it as well, because when you are just doing a ticket, it is VATable. But when you do book ticket and you give away a free ticket, there's no VAT on that. And I think that we all have expenses in our shops whereby if you're selling things in your cafes or stationery items or something, you've got the sale purchase to put against it. Whereas the sort of venue, it doesn't sort of marry in quite the same way. So I always think that the VAT, I've always got the VAT in the back of my head as well, just saying.
Can I get it so that the screen shows my laptop at this point? Brilliant tech team. So I've made this spreadsheet, and so Fleur's made one as well, and frankly hers is a lot easier to get a head round straight away. So I'm going to show you Fleur's at the end, but because, as we said, Fleur kindly stepped into this role, I've kind of done this demo on my slightly more complicated spreadsheet. The main reason why it's slightly more complicated is because it kind of enables you to look at both budget in advance, thank you so much, that's brilliant, and kind of actual costs. And also just because it's got nearly every eventuality that I could think of. I threw it a bit around with a few other people. Fleur took a look at it as well before we knew we were doing a presentation on it. And Carrie Morris has had a play with it quite a bit as well. And obviously she's busy creating new event venues with second shops and stuff, so she wasn't able to come to conference this time. So this is an actual kind of P&L or budget calculator for a Natalie Haynes event that we did about a week or so ago. And this was a profitable event. And I'm going to show real quickly one that's the opposite, just so don't think I'm doing big time Charlie, look, we made some money. But it's essentially a kind of accurate one. So there's a column there that you can see for projections, and you can fill in all the different costs that you may have that you can project. And what I'm going to do now with it is just fill in some actuals so that you can kind of see the way it feeds through on this spreadsheet. So let's see if I've written down the things. So the venue itself did indeed cost £275 to rent. This is a venue that held up to about 250 people. We didn't quite sell that many, but that's where we were with it. There were no other sound costs, and we don't give wine at that particular venue. Clergy are not mad on it in that particular space. There was no interviewer. We do love to interview ourselves. There was no interviewer fee on this one though, because Natalie wanted to do, you may know she also has been a stand-up comedian in her time. She's just brilliant if you just let her go. So, yeah, I don't know why, I don't love that. Let's ignore that. There's a staff cost in there. It went on slightly longer than we thought, so I'm going to round that to about 180 is what we spent in overtime costs for our staff to be there. And Natalie wanted a Diet Coke, so we got her a few. However, she didn't drink all of that Diet Coke because I saw my colleague Lottie, who's here at the conference, drink an awful lot of Diet Coke the next day. So I could repurpose, I could move that to a different cost centre. Now this bit of books here, the cost of the books is going to filter through when I fill out other sheets. But for now, it's just there, so I'll show you how that works at the end. Then I got a separate tab here for the revenue, okay? So how did we price this one up? We priced a book ticket option, which was exactly the price of the book. So, and then we also had a ticket price of £8. So that I've put the price here because Fleur rightly mentioned VAT. So we charge VAT on tickets, and there's a portion there. At the end of the spreadsheet, I've made a little handy calculator. So you can work out what the ex-VAT price is for the help of filling this in to save you that math. So in the end, we reckoned we were going to sell a lot of ticket-only tickets to this event at £8. We actually did not sell anywhere near as many as we thought we would. We sold 74. And we did sell some concessions, which I can't actually see where they were, so that's not ideal. Yes, I did. No, I've got that wrong already. We sold 95, and sorry, we sold 24 concessions. So you can see it's just calculating it here for you, and it's looking at it against the budget. Then, ticket portion of book ticket. So sometimes I think it's fine if you've got a £16.99 book and you're paying for a venue to charge £20. because you're paying for a venue, right? This one, we didn't do that. So if you were doing that, because technically that £3 bit of the ticket should be VATable, if we're arguing that it's a free ticket with a book, but there's a bit that's VATable, you'd maybe put the £3 and a penny element as the price of that. I've put this as 0 because all of those 74, all the £74 bits, it's not £16.99, it's a £20 book, I just realised, it goes in here. So that's the income from the book tickets. But if there was an extra slice, it would go in here. On the night, we sold way more titles than I thought. So to Fleur's point, I think it's much easier when you have a book ticket portion to predict what you're going to end up actually selling, and then there is a lower returns. Actually, on this one, to my surprise, loads of people, I guess it's, Natalie wowed them more than they thought, and then they ended up buying the book. I think actually we did probably give a little discount on the night, but that's not factored in here, but let's call it that. And then we sold some backlists as well. For the purposes of this, I've just give a blended amount on the backlist. I don't, wouldn't work out every single one. But you could. Here's some other stuff you could do. Some of you may sell merch. Fleur's spreadsheet, you have a big chunk in your spreadsheet, don't you, which covers, because you have a bar and food element at your shop. So
we do, and we do a bar at one of our venues, but even worse than your clergy, the church we use is a Methodist church, and we used to give gifts of a bottle of wine, and then I just thought that I'd probably go to hell because I'd taken alcohol across the threshold. Right. I did go to religious schools.
Right, nice. So then I got a book supply bit. We're not allowed to talk about margin because we're not allowed to talk about margin. However, that is the margin that's currently on offer on this book at Gardeners when you log in. So, and I think it's fair to say that although we're not allowed to talk about margin, that's the kind of margin that you might want to go to get your publicist to give you if you're putting on a big event and you're going to that effort. So let's call it 50%. So here you simply enter the margin, you enter the price, you enter the number that you ordered, and then your sales have fed through from that previous sheet now already. If I go back to that budget sheet at the beginning that I had, I've now got an amount here that's fed in. That's my cost base for the books that I've sold. Okay? I've also got a factor in here, this is where it's a bit complicated, for returns costs. Now, actually, it's a bit pessimistic because probably I'll keep those books and try and sell them and not return them. But if you had to return every book, that's roughly a cost of how many you could fit in a box, and then there we go. And what you get is this, a little profit and loss account, a little picture of what you thought, so how you thought it would be and how you ended up. So actually, we ended up slightly ahead of our expectation on this one. No, we ended up slightly down, beg your pardon, slightly up on the revenue, on some aspects of revenue, slightly down on the profit. But it's a profitable event. This is like the dream stuff, right, that actually then funds all the many events you do that lose money. So, as I say, and I'm just going to quickly show you one sort of alternative picture. This is an event, I filled this one in already. This is an event with Catherine Scanlon. I don't know if any of you read this book, Kick the Latch. It's a brilliant book, it's a small book, but that's a classic passion book for our booksellers. She was over for a very short space of time, so we really wanted to host her and bring her to our bookshop, and we did that. We sold 26 tickets right there. It was quite a low price in-store event. Actually, the process of preparing this profit and loss for this session, I started questioning why I would do a lower value for an event that's in my shop. It's almost like, and I just really questioned that, and I'd like everyone to question it. It's almost like we were saying to ourselves, oh, we don't have as high a cost base for this event, so let's not make any money on it.
I don't do that.
You do that?
No, I don't. I've made a decision. We do £12 for everything as a ticket-only base, and then it's just how that fluctuates with the book.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think it's much better than our... And we did a book ticket. Worse still, we did a book ticket on it, right? And it's a $9.99 paperback. Stupid. Now, we sold some books. Listen, the event was nice. 26 people for Catherine Scanlon is all good. She's not a household name. She's a brilliant, brilliant writer. In this column here where we look at the costs, somewhere it will say... Yeah, so 2 things to notice here. 1, I put the author up at my house and her husband, as it turned out. So that was a 0 cost. But this is another thing you can do as part of, and some of you will do this kind of thing to get an author, make an author event happen. Second, we interviewed, but I pay my staff to interview because we're always asking people, we think that people should be paid, right? I mean, we as a industry think that people should be paid. We think that the external interviewers should be paid. So I pay a £50 interview fee. I know it's not a lot, as recognition for the fact that the overtime that person will get for doing the event is not any way representative of the stress that they're going to have had for several days before and the time they've spent that they can't really quantify and ask me for overtime on. So we do that as well. And I think it's kind of important for the publishers to see that we do that too. Yeah, so when we flick through and look at the profit on this, you may not be able to see there's a minus in front of that pound sign. So this event lost £63, basically. I worked out, I'm not going to tap it in just because of time. It says I've got 12 minutes here, but I'm pretty sure we've got 4 minutes. Anyway, I'll take 12 if I get it. If I were to take out that book ticket option, and we were to assume that we'd just done what we normally do, which is give a little discount for any books on the night and just charged a regular ticket, I worked out that it would have halved our loss. So, so that's just on a tiny 20-something person event in the store. So if you now imagine that for like a 400-person external venue, that halving of the loss or doubling of the profit is a big deal. So that's the whole point about book ticket deals on paperbacks. The other thing, and I think it's really important to think about this when we think about why we do events and what we're giving to the publisher and to the author in terms of support on these ones where financially they don't look great. And it's why I include this bit here, additional lead title sales during the wider period, right? So sometimes it's not about the night, especially with these ones where your booksellers are passionate. So if I add in the 122 copies of that book that we've sold like for a month before and 4 months afterwards because people were just hand selling it, it was in our top 3 fiction for weeks and weeks and weeks, then that makes me feel better because suddenly it makes the event look profitable, and the event kind of was about part of that thing. So it kind of makes you think, okay, well there is even financially you can look at a holistic reason why you've done that event, as well as just because it's marketing and community.